Hello, 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 everyone. I hope you can see me, and my computer is not in the right place. Oh man, oh boy. Um, Give me 1 second. Can you take no? Can you take that white um dish right
Yes.
there
Yes.
and just sit it back here? Okay. Uh oh.
Are we there? Are we there yet?
I'm short. Sorry, you guys. I'm trying to get this situated, which it was.
There you are.
Well, that's a little bit better. I
Do you
feel
need
like
it
I'm right.
higher
I'm
up?
right at my neck. No, it's forget it. Anyhow,
You're looking good, baby.
thank you. Bye now. Thank you very much. Can you move this? It's distracting me. I'll tell you, getting set up for this thing is more than a notion. Anyway, thank you. Because every time I look in at the screen, I'm looking at that fan thinking, boy, that thing needs to be on. But if it was on, then you wouldn't be able to hear me. So
Can I
anyway,
get you a cookie?
I'm fine.
Some warm milk?
Thank you. Good evening. Sorry, you guys. That was crazy trying to get set up. I hope you can see me and I hope you can hear me okay. Um, if you can, make sure that you know the drill, you know the thing. Just go ahead and put in the chat box where you're signaling from and who you are. Hi, Vanessa. Good evening, my dear. How are ya? Yes, yes, yes. We're going to be talking about some things this evening. I've been gone for a minute. I start getting calls and text messages from some of my subscribers wanting to know was I okay. Let me tell you, I'm okay. Still got the weird cough. I just live with it now, and I've got this mullein tea that I drink that they help keep it under control because I don't want y'all to think I'm on here about to die. So anyway, it's been really busy. um, if you're here in the United States, oh, yes, Vanessa in Texas. If you're here in the United States, and you know that we have been in a drought, and a lot of people have had lots and lots of problems with agriculture. There has been a lot going on, folks, and I'm going to try to cover as much of it as I can because my thoughts are kind of all over the place because it's so much to talk about. Um, but anyway, so I have been busy because I've been trying to manage my garden. This is my second time trying to grow a garden here in Oklahoma, and I tell you, both times I was stricken with a drought. So um, things like green beans are very easy to grow. When you plant green beans and all you get is two beans, that is crazy. Okay, so um, I'm waiting for the big water bill to come through because we were watering twice a day, just trying to keep things alive. Oh my gosh. And then we were fertilizing and we had shade cloth over everything and we had very little harvest. We did have some. Now we got melons, cantaloupes, and watermelons. We got a few of those, but this was my first time trying to grow that. And I did not know that I needed to cut some of the foliage back. So we had two good sized melons, and then the rest of them were kind of small, like that big. And they were good, but the chickens liked them as well. Anyway, but people have been struggling with their uh with their produce, their gardens and stuff because the sun just feels different. I'm not a person that burns, and I'm telling you I can feel the difference when I go out there in the sun. If I'm out there for longer than 15 minutes or I start approaching 10 minutes, I can feel it. It's different from just feeling warm or a little overheated, it starts to feel like it's actually burning me. And I'm thinking, what in the world? I don't burn. So, um, which also affected my vitamin D levels because I had not been able to sit out there. It's been like 106 here. It's ridiculous. So, anyway, um, it's been very, very hot, very, very dry. And when it gets like that here, I don't know what happens in other states or in other cities, but in our city, when it's consistently, what is it? I think it's when it's consistently over 100 degrees for 10 days, they restrict water. Like they don't restrict how much you can drink or how much you can bathe, but don't try to water your lawn because you're going to get a ticket. So everybody's grass looks like it's fall because it's all brown. I'm just amazed that the trees haven't died off. Now, some of my bushes in the back are I've got some brown spots because they got sunburn. It's been rough. So, but that's not just me. I mean, this has affected our crops throughout the nation, which is leading me into what I'm going to talk to you guys about tonight. Now, we've talked about some of this stuff before, and I came from a kind of a different angle, right? But if you've been keeping up with what's been going on, um, we've lost a lot of livestock. Uh, I personally think their feed was poisoned. I know that during drought, especially black Angus cows and livestock that has dark fur or whatever, the heat is hard on them, especially if we're in a drought and it's over 100 degrees. But we lost an inordinate amount of cattle this year. And I believe, this is just my opinion, I believe it was foul play. I think it's part of a bigger picture of things that a lot of people don't want to talk about, or they just think it's a conspiracy theory. And my opinion about that is not every conspiracy is just a theory. Okay. Some of it is real, some of it is true. A lot of it is real, a lot of it is true. And if you go back in history about 60 years ago and follow some of the speeches and things that some of these presidents gave, they pretty much said what they were shooting for. And it's just been taking decades to get there. So now we're here and they're trying to run full steam ahead on relieving the planet of as many people as they possibly can. So, and I have to try to be careful how I say things because the last time I did that, my video disappeared and I did not have a recording. So that happened. But anyway, so with the loss of agriculture, Washington State grows a lot of wheat, and they are running out of wheat. Um, California had all the crazy wildfires and stuff that they have every single year, and part of that is because of mismanagement of the forest, and some of that is because well, mismanagement of the forest. And so that is going to affect produce as far as citrus goes, our fruit. A lot of our fruit and stuff come from California. There's just a lot going on. So, I care about people and whether they believe me or not, even though I've been saying this for years. Um, if you go to the gas station, just because prices are lower, don't let that fool you. Okay. Don't let that fool you. They'll give you a little bit of relief, and the next thing you know, prices are going to shoot back up again. So, and if they go way down, it'll probably be just before the election. You know what I'm saying? So, just watch what they do. It's a game that they play. They do it every election year. Something crazy like this happens, and I saw a video of an older gentleman. He was much older than me, and he gave a rundown of every 10 years, there's another crisis. Every 10 years, there's another crisis. This The whole global warming um, fell out of favor with people. The expression global warming fell out of favor with people. So they changed it to climate change. The climate's always changing. It's called the four seasons. Okay. So anyway, but with the food shortages, the things that happen with the trucks, running out of diesel, all these kinds of things that are going on, we are headed for a Great Depression. Okay. Now, the difference between the depression that we're headed for, and they're trying to say we're not in a recession. Well, a recession is when you have two quarters that are below what was the expected average for a nation or a society. The first two quarters or two consecutive quarters where they ain't making the money that they thought they were going to be making. Well, we're well past that. So now they're trying to say, well, it's not really a recession. It was a recession all these decades. Now all of a sudden it has a completely different meaning. Anyway, because they think you're stupid. So we're headed for a depression, folks. And I just wanted to give you um, some of my observations. Uh, you may live in a city or a town where um, the shelves seem to be full. Okay, now let me tell you what's happening with that. If you remember all those ships and things that were docked out in the Pacific Ocean, and they just sat there and sat there and sat there because everything was shut down. Right, there were no workers to unload the ships at the docks. There were no stores open to take the merchandise to. Remember that? Okay. All this started when everything shut down. Everything started. It didn't start in Ukraine. Okay. It ain't Putin's fault. This started when our government decided to lock everything down. That's when all this started. Okay. So now what's happening over there ain't helping none, but it did not cause this. Okay. You can't shut down a whole country for a whole year with no harvest going on, no factories running, no businesses open, and think that when you finally do gradually open back up, that everything's just going to magically poof go back to normal. No, because now you've got 35% of the businesses did not reopen. Okay. They had to go out of business. So that's a problem. Then you have all the ships that were sitting out in the Pacific with merchandise and stuff on them sitting there rotting or going bad because of seawater and being exposed to the elements like that. Now, all of a sudden, all this stuff is starting to come to shore. And there's still a problem because where have all the workers gone? Well, I can tell you what my theory is. Here's my theory. My theory is number one, a lot of these businesses shot themselves in the foot by telling people that if they did not do what they wanted them to do, they could not work there, right? Some people opted out and said, there's not enough information about that, so I think I'll pass. And they lost their job. Well, they were too stupid to lift that policy. And so they can't get workers now. And the ones that did, some of them passed away because they had an event behind doing that, and they left. They ain't coming back. So that happened. They shot themselves in the foot by trying to keep up with the Joneses and what everybody else was doing, and it has hurt their business. Okay, so now you may have people who know the job, whatever job it is, whatever profession it is, they may know the job. They may be expert in their field. But because you put their back up against a wall, or that company put their back up against a wall and said, do this or else, they are suffering. They don't have the amount of staff they need to continue to run their business efficiently. And as a result of that, people will stop coming to their business because nobody wants to pay money to go and deal with crappy service, okay, or substandard products or whatever. So, hi, Amber. Hi, Leah. Vanessa says, even in small rural areas, we are seeing empty shelters. Yes, yes. And let me tell you something else. This is a multifaceted problem. Now, what do I mean by that? Some of it is staffing issues. Some of it is, and then listen, you can go to a Home Depot or some other big box store somewhere, and they are inundated with boxes because now they've got stuff like grills and stuff coming. Nobody's buying grills right now. People are trying to keep their lights on. And so they're getting inundated with all this inventory that they have nowhere to put it and no one to put it where it needs to go because they had this stupid policy where they tried to strip people of their right to decide their own medical destiny, and now they don't have enough workers. Well, too bad, so sad. You did that to yourself because you were dumb. So, so that happened. So some of these stores are getting inundated with product that they don't have the workers to put the stuff away. And this stuff is seasonal, right? There ain't a whole lot. There are some because when I was in Europe, I barbecued in the winter, okay? But there aren't a whole lot of people who wants to buy a grill right now. First of all, it's not a priority to a lot of people. And second of all, they don't have the money because of the rising cost of things. It's not, it's just not a priority. And it's a seasonal thing, right? You don't generally see grills for sale, at Christmas time or whatever. And you may see some, but Anyway, hi, Happy Camper. My goodness, Happy Camper. How the heck are you? Anyway, hi, Amber. Amber says, yeah, I don't want to take the shot and end up with the hiccups with her. Amber, girl, you crazy. Happy Cameron says, I was at Walmart today and most of Oscar Mayer hot dogs were dated July. Yes, yes, yes. And see, I said that a couple videos back. I do believe you guys listen. Watch the expiration dates. This stuff has been sitting, okay? It's been sitting. And let me tell you something else that's been happening. Some of these companies have been telling the truckers, I don't know the exact word for the thing, that use these refrigerated trucks. They have been telling them it's, let's say for example, it's supposed to run at 40 degrees, right? Um, or at 36 degrees. They're supposed to keep the refrigeration at 36 degrees while this food is in transit. And they're telling them to turn it up to 40 degrees, right? So by the time it gets to the store, it's on the verge of spoiling. Okay, it's on the verge. And we had to take some meat back to Sam's because I bought a rack of ribs. Now this was a couple months ago, but I bought a rack of ribs and I opened the package because I was going to cut it down and put it into smaller packages. And it stunk to high heaven. I thought, oh my gosh. And I had my husband take it back. That's a disgrace, and tell him, give me my money back. And I don't think I bought meat from them since. I had never, in all the years that Sam's has been here, I had never, ever had bad quality food like that. That was ridiculous. And the date on it wasn't even expired. What they did was they repackaged rotten meat and put an expiration date that was 2 weeks out, as if I'm not going to smell that when I open the package. So I'm telling you guys, watch, because they're just trying to move product. This is a mess. See, somebody had the expression, get woke, go broke. Okay. You want to jump on the bandwagon of all this crazy, upside down, perverted, unnecessary mess that these people are doing, trying to destabilize a society, and you're going to destroy your own life, you're going to destroy your own business, and you're going to destroy relationships because ain't nobody picking up what they trying to put down. Okay. It ain't working. It ain't working. So make sure that you check the dates on stuff before you take it out of the store. And another thing that's been happening is people go to buy something, right? You look on the shelf and it might say maybe it was 78 cents. Let's say it was a can of I don't know, pinto beans or whatever. So let's say it was 78 cents, like, 2 weeks ago. You get up to the register now, it's $1.28. But the thing still says 78 cents on the shelf. And some places have stopped putting the prices on the shelf because the price changes so quickly that by the time that people get it to the register, it's a different price, right? Some stores are getting price change lists that are 4 and 5 pages long with over 1,000 items on them with price changes and stuff like that. So listen, we are headed for a depression. And if nobody else wants to tell you that, I will tell you that. Now, what does that mean? That means gas prices, even though they're going down right now, see, some people are impressed over the fact that gas prices in some places may have been like $5 or whatever, right? And now maybe it went down to $4.75. Well, it just seems to me that just a couple of years ago it was a dollar something. Right. So I'm not impressed over $4 and nothing. Okay. Take it back to where it was, which it might not ever go back there, at least not till after 2024. Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's how they mess with your head. People are used to paying the high prices. So then when it drops 50 cents or whatever, they think they're getting a good deal. You're not. No, you're not. What were you paying 2 years ago? What were you paying under the last administration? This is ridiculous. And for them to tell you that this is the best economy ever, yeah, for them, it's good for them. It's not good for the American citizen, but it's good for them. So anyhow, oh yeah, millionaires and billionaires were made during these last 2 years. Make no mistake about it, and you wasn't one of them. Okay, if you was, you probably wouldn't be on here talking to me. So, all right. So what can we do? What can we do about where we're headed? Well, we can't do anything about where we're headed, but we can do something about how we manage where we're headed. So, one of the first things that I wanted to say, hi Selena, was hi Carolyn, was look at your utilities. Okay, now I did a video about this. I guess I don't know, sometime last year, and I talked about look for alternate ways to keep yourself warm. Because I'm telling you, this winter, you think summer was crazy. You wait till winter rolls around and the polar blast comes through. Some crazy thing will happen next. And they'll blame it on something other than weather manipulation, which they can do. Um, but think of other ways to heat your home. Now, why do I say that? Because 3 years ago, if you remember, I believe it was 3 years ago in Texas, they had that freak storm that affected us here in Oklahoma. And we found out when we were at the RV that we were not prepared like we thought we were to be in an RV under those kind of circumstances. Now, Texas had like a blackout for almost a month in some places. It was nuts. And a lot of people died, okay, because of exposure to the cold. So, and what happened here, it was 22 degrees below zero. I have lived here for over 30 years. I have never, ever seen cold like that except for when I went to Canada. When I flew into Canada on a military flight to Goose Bay, where we had to stop over, de-ice the plane and the whole 9 yards, and it was 32 below zero. Then I thought I was going to die. I'm from Philadelphia. We didn't get that kind of cold. I had never seen that kind of cold in my life, and that's been years ago. And so when we got below 22 degrees here in Oklahoma, yeah, that was pretty freaky. And It taught me some things. Number one, let me give you some ideas. Look for alternate ways to heat where you live. Now, I showed y'all some examples a long time ago, how you can take a clay flower pot, the biggest one you can find, that has the tray that goes with it. Well, don't get the tray that goes with it. Get the next size up, the bigger one. You can take long burning candles. Now, I found some on Amazon, who I hate to do business with, but I found some on Amazon where the candles burn for 7 to 8 hours a piece. Okay. And I bought several of those just in case, because I see how crazy these people are. They're nuts. If they can't starve you out, they will freeze you out. Okay. So I decided, yeah, not me. I like cold. Not like that. So I've got this big flower pot, and I've got the big tray next size up, and I've got these candles that burn for 7 to 8 hours a piece. They're like little tea lights. Now you can get some that are bigger, but I got the little tea lights. That flower pot, clay, not glazed, okay, just a raw clay pot, will act like a clay oven. If you put that in a room where you shut yourself in, crack a window because you got to have air, because that flame is going to suck the oxygen out of the room. You'll suffocate, wake up dead. You don't want to do that. So, anyway, crack a window, little crack, but you're going to put your candles under that pot and sit it on that clay tray. Turn your pot upside down, put it on a stand or put it on some bricks or something that's fireproof, and it will radiate heat like an oven. Okay. And those candles will burn for 7 or 8 hours. All right. So I just want to give you that as an idea. If you want to save money on your utilities, if you have a dollar store somewhere nearby you, you can go to the dollar store. You can get those cheap solar lights, right? Put them in a window, let them charge up, turn your lights off, take that solar light, put it down in a clear vase, you have light. Okay? You have to think differently. You got to outsmart these fools. I'm telling you. You have to think differently because they ain't studying you. They ain't thinking about you. They could care less. They're on a quest to get rich and rid the planet of as many people as they can. So, meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're going to stay warm. We're going to have light, and you're going to need alternate ways to cook. Now, let me get back to heating and keeping warm this winter, because that's really my biggest concern right now for people, is how they're going to keep warm. Now, why is that a concern? Because of the rising cost of fuel. A lot of people heat their home by oil, some heat their home by electric, whatever it is, the prices are going up. If they go down, it'll be close to election. Watch and see. But anyway, and they won't stay that way once the election's over. So um, you can get a tent. If you have a tent and you have a sleeping bag, make sure it's handy. Make sure your sleeping bag is clean, first of all, and free of bugs or whatever. But if you have a tent and you have to insulate yourself against the cold in your house, you can do that by setting up shop in your tent, right? Excuse me. You can set up shop in your tent. You can use your sleeping bag. You will need an egg crate. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because, well, I'm ex military and I know what it is to be on a cold ground. You're going to need an egg crate to put like a buffer between your sleeping bag and the floor. Okay. Especially if you don't have carpet in your house. It'll keep airflow under you, and it'll insulate you against the draft or the cold that's on the floor. Um, what else can you do? I just ordered some wool socks, right? Make sure you can keep your hands and your feet warm. You can also buy those hand warmers. You can buy body warmers. They're chemically activated, right? You just give them a shake and they heat up. And some of them last for 4 or 5 hours, whatever. it would be best to try to use that at night. So that, because when the temperature drops and there's no light, it gets cooler. So are y'all taking notes? Make sure you're paying attention. Take notes or go back and watch this again. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up, because I see there's a few of you on here and not everybody gave it a thumbs up. So make sure you give it a thumbs up, and please share this information, share this video with other people. Um, get some warm clothes. This is a good time to hit the thrift stores, okay, and look for scarves, look for wool caps, things like this that you may need to put on you. Even if you don't turn your heat off, which you don't want to do in the winter anyway, you may turn it all the way down to 50 degrees in your house. That can be a little bit chilly, especially if you're asleep when your body temperature drops anyway. So, what I don't recommend that you do is turn your heat all the way off. Now, if you're living in one of these woke states where they may shut it off anyway, this stuff is really important that you're paying attention right now. But if you're in a different place where you have a governor or a mayor that has some kind of sanity, you may just want to, for cost sake, turn it down, but don't turn it off. Now, if your utilities get shut off, or you have to let them get shut off because the cost of keeping them on is too expensive, and you're in a house, drain your pipes. Go to your shut off valve, turn your water off, and open up your taps. Otherwise, you're going to have some exploded pipes, okay? And that's a mess. Good luck finding a plumber because people ain't going to work. So I'm just saying, if you're in a house and your utilities get too expensive, you need to get extra water. You can get 55-gallon drums that are food grade that you can fill with water. You can treat the water. Now, the reason, now understanding that the water that comes from your city has been treated already, right? But if you're going to store water long term and you have an older home that has older pipes, you may want to go ahead and treat the water anyway. So just to make sure that it's safe, and also use a filter, a filtering system, even if it's just a Brita system, a Brita system where you pump that water into that Brita filter and let it run through. Better safe than sorry. Okay. So now I feel like I'm jumping all over the place because I want you guys to be safe this winter. Extra clothing. Go hit the thrift stores. Ain't no shame in your game. Hit the thrift stores and look for warm clothing, um, sweaters, more socks, leggings, whatever it is that will keep you warm. You know what your tolerance is, right? When it comes to heat and cold. And so shop accordingly. You don't have to buy something brand new. This is not the time trying to be fashionable, okay? God bless all of y'all that's still getting your nails done and your hair done. I hope all that stuff tastes good, okay? When the price of food gets so high you can't afford to buy it no more, just chew on them nails. Let us know how that tastes. So, get warm clothes, get an alternate source of heat, and if you're turning your utilities off, get an alternate source of how to cook your food. Now, it is different when you are dealing with apartment living or condo living and when you're dealing with a house. If you're dealing with a house, you have the option of cooking outside on a grill. You can cook outside on a hibachi, whatever. When you're in an apartment, you don't necessarily have that luxury. So have you thought it through of how are you going to prepare food, right? If your utilities are shut off. And they could be shut off for different reasons. So, for example, we get ice storms here. We don't get a lot of snow in my city, but we get ice. Now, further up north, they get snow and ice. And I mean, it's brutal. But down here, we're closer to Texas. We're closer to North Texas, but we get more ice storms than anything. which can take out our power lines, right? Because the ice can get so heavy, it just snaps tree branches and knocks out the power, and it's a mess. So we have an alternate way that we can cook. We have a grill. You can get a camping stove, which you can use that in your home. Again, you just have to make sure that you have some ventilation, right? Just crack a window before you cook on it. But a camping stove is fairly inexpensive. But I'm telling you guys, you need to be thinking about this stuff because if you see what happened this summer, there ain't no telling what's going to happen during the winter in Europe. In Germany, I believe it is. They're shutting off stuff. I mean, the government is shutting off the people's utilities because they can't afford it. They were getting a lot of their stuff from Russia. Well, you see how that's going, right? So now they're in trouble, and these poor people, a lot of them are going to die this winter because it gets cold there. I lived there for 5 years, and depending on where you are in Germany, it can be brutal. So, I mean, I remember walking through snow that was up to my knees. Now that don't take a whole lot because I ain't tall, but still, it was kind of brutal. So anyway, think of extra ways, additional ways that you can cook. Now, I said in the last video, make sure that you have backups for your backup, right? Now, Ronchella's mentioned a fireplace. Yes. Where are you going to store all that wood? See, you have to make sure that you have enough wood to carry you for 6 or 8 weeks. That's a lot of wood. Okay, that's a lot of wood. And keeping in mind that a lot of the mills or however they cut this stuff might not be functioning at optimal uh uh it may not be functioning the way it's supposed to because of a lack of workers, right? So you can't even depend on going to the store and being able to buy firewood. You can't depend on that. So unless you have your own land with your own trees where you can cut it down, and good luck getting it to burn because it hadn't had time to dry out. So, think about these things. However it is you heat your home, you need to have a backup for that way of doing it, okay? You need to have an additional way. We've talked about that kind of an issue here, and so we talked about having the flower pot thing. I do have a camping stove. I don't recommend using a camping stove for heating. Okay, that's a bit risky, but if you had to, just make sure you crack a window. Right, extra clothes, extra water. Water is becoming like gold because of the drought. Um, there are some places that only have like 18 inches of water left in their reservoirs. And I'm telling you, Arizona is very, very low on water, very low. They were talking the other day about they only have maybe 50 days left. I was like, 50 days to take care of the entire state. Oh my God. I thought, and then what? Mexico is in trouble. They have a severe water shortage going on. And so go to the store, get extra water. Now, how much do you need? Well, typically about 3 gallons a day per adult. That is your sanitation, that's your cooking, and that's your drinking. Okay. And that's being very conservative. That means when you're washing the dishes, you're not just using a whole gallon of water to wash dishes. There's other ways that you can wash dishes, believe it or not. I've seen people do this that have been long term and full time in their vans and stuff like that. They take a vinegar and water solution, they spray their dishes down. They wipe it down with a cloth. They rinse it off with fresh water with a spray bottle and they put them away. The vinegar will kill bacteria. Okay, so that is one way to do it. It's just an idea. I'm just putting it out there. Okay. Um, the next thing that you need to think about is home security. If you are in an apartment building, in an apartment complex, there may be other people um, in your complex that think like you do. There will be people in your complex who do not think like you do. It is very important that you are not sharing a lot of information with people that you don't know where they stand on things, okay? They could become a threat to you, and you have to know how to secure your home. If you need to get out of your home, what is your exit? How do you get out, right? If people get very desperate, and they will, that are in your area, and they decide they're going to go through the apartment kicking in doors, um, and especially in a city where the police have been defunded, they're not coming. Okay, so you're on your own. Just look at it like that. I'm on my own. Nobody's coming to help me. The government's not coming to help you because the government is the one that got us in this mess in the first place. So they're not coming to help you. Okay, they already showed you what they think of you. They ain't coming. So how are you going to protect yourself? How are you going to protect your family, your loved ones, and all that? So be careful who you're talking to, what you're sharing with them about what you have and how much you know. Just be quick to listen and see where is this person in their thought processes about what is happening right now. If they think everything is great and the economy is going just wonderfully, well, that ain't the person you need to be talking to because they're still asleep. They're in a drunken stupor or something's wrong with them, okay? But they are not in touch with reality because all is not well. It's really not. So think about that. Talk to your family members that live with you, and talk to those that don't live with you that may be of like mind, if you have that in your life, or a close friend or whatever that shares your opinion about the things that are going on, because you may need to entertain the possibility that if you start getting rumblings and murmurings about things getting kind of crazy in your area, you may need to leave your home to keep your life, okay? Or your friend or your family member may need to leave their home. Now, I've been in conversations with people lately where some of their children are moving back home, or other family members are starting to um, almost treat their home like a compound because they just can't make it, especially with the younger kids, the millennials and the Gen Z and whatever all else they call themselves nowadays. I just call them kids that are in their 20s and in their 30s, are out there struggling and finding out that they just cannot make it on what they are making, and they have to move in with a family member. You need to have some guidelines set up immediately. And when they come, they need to come and they need to be bringing something, have something in their hand when they come. And you need to have some expectations, right? If they're going to stay with you, then they need to understand what the ground rules are, right? For example, if it's young people, and you say, listen, you're not going to be running in and out all hours of the night, okay? If you need to stay here, I don't need to stay with you. So I don't want my peace disrupted or my home disrupted because you want to run the street, okay? If you're going to stay here, then you need to be home at whatever time it is you want them to be there, or the door is getting locked for my safety. Okay. I need to make sure I'm safe in my home. So if you're going to be here, right, then I'm going to secure that door and the back door and all the windows at such and such a time. And you need to make sure that you're here by that time, or you need to secure yourself wherever you're at that time, right? That's an example. If you want people running in and out all hours of the night, that's your business, okay? I'm just saying that's an example that you need to have some ground rules set down. If people are entertaining the thought of living in your home, it will disrupt your lifestyle, but you want it to remain as normal as possible so that relationships aren't broken, feelings aren't hurt, and all that kind of stuff. And lay out the ground rules before they come. That way, if you have to put them out, You could put them out and hang a sign on their neck to say, I told you so, right? They can't accuse you of not telling you that. And had you told me that in the beginning, I wouldn't have never caved. Tell them before they get there. And they might decide, yeah, I don't think I want to stay with Auntie, or I don't think I want to stay with my dad, or whatever. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, because if they come in there and you didn't tell them and they acting the fool, you might have a hard time getting them out. First of all, have you heard that these landlords cannot put people out and they haven't paid rent in months because the current administration has made it almost illegal to evict people. Anyway, a whole nother story. Now, sanitation. I saw a video the other day, and I was sharing this with a group of ministers I was talking to. God bless this guy. His name is Alaska Prepper. I like his videos. He loves his family. And he was talking about when he went to the store, he wants to take care of the women in his life. He has daughters, he's married, and he wants to take care of the women in his life. So what he did was he went to the store and he noticed that they had some decent prices on sanitary items, right? And that some of the women in his life deal with severe pain when they're going through their cycle. So he loaded up on medication for them. He says, I don't want them to be hurting, and there's a shortage. You go to the store, you can't find basic meds because all of our medicine was coming from China and India. Well, you see how that's going. I told y'all. Get your medicine. Learn how to make your own. Does anybody remember me saying that? That's been over 2 years ago. I told you. Anyway, so he loaded up on sanitary items and stuff for the women in his life. And I just really appreciate him just coming out and saying that for these men who think they are men. But when you start talking about menstrual cycles and Kotex and tampons and things like that, they want to get all blushing and want to go hide in the corner somewhere. Grow up and go take care of the women in your life. But anyway, moving on from the tampons. Back to home security. Back to home security and having blended families once again. You have got to set down some ground rules. Now, you may be talking with a person who had been doing some preparing of their own, right? Well, listen, if they're not going to be at their house for the long haul, they need to bring everything they have to your house. That's what they need to do. And ahead of time, you need to decide what everybody's task is going to be. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bunch of deadbeats that descended on your house like vultures, sucking down everything you have and doing absolutely nothing but laying around thinking about how wonderful life is because you're taking care of everything. I'm telling you, I am not the one, okay? Ain't gonna happen here. Not happening. So anyway, yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Lord have mercy. I can't believe I've been on here for almost an hour. Get your extra water, get your extra food. Try to grow something in containers. Now, in some regions it's too late. In some regions it's too hot. Save seeds if you have seeds. If you go to the store and you can still buy some seeds and you have space to grow stuff, get what you can get. I'm telling you, because this is what people don't understand about what they're seeing on the shelf right now. What you see on the shelf right now with green beans and corn and whatever you're seeing on the shelf right now did not come from this year. It did not come from last year. A lot of that stuff is on the shelf pre pandemic. Okay. That's why they have expiration dates that are like 2 and 3 years out. This was not last year's harvest. There was no harvest last year. If there was very little harvest last year. If you're going to get canned goods or stuff in jars or whatever, make sure you have a very good way to open that stuff. Having canned goods with no can opener Ain't gonna do you no good. And let me tell you this, having canned goods with an electric can opener and you don't have any utilities, it's not gonna do you any good. You need just crank it, honey. Go to the store and get one of them ones that you got with your hand, or you're not gonna be able to eat. You can stare at that can of beans, but you won't taste near bean. Okay. So you need manual things. Think like that. If I don't have utilities, what can I do? I like coffee, right? Well, 1 cup a day. But I do like coffee. So what did I do? I bought some coffee and I bought some instant coffee. Do I prefer instant coffee? No, I don't. Is it cheaper than the other coffee? Yes, it is. So I have both, right? I also like my coffee to be fresh. I don't like buying ground coffee because I don't know what kind of fillers they may have put in it. Okay, so I'm thinking, what if I decide that the utilities are too high? I don't want to pay them. I mean, I'm going to have to pay something like a service fee just to have them, to have service coming into my home. But what if I don't want to use, let's say I don't want to use electricity? Um, how am I going to brew my coffee? How, and I buy coffee beans. How am I going to grind them? Well, that's where a hand mill comes in. That's right. It's the kind you hook onto your counter and you crank, 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 crank until you grind those beans by hand. Is it a workout? Yes. Do you have fresh coffee? Yes. You see what I'm saying? You have to think differently. You have to think more simply, but you want your life to be as normal as possible, right? There's enough craziness going on. Just try to stay normal. Anyway, we don't need no more crazies. So you want your life to be as normal and as pain free as possible while we're trying to get through this mess, however long it takes us to get through this mess. The Great Depression was not an event, it was not something that happened during one presidency. It was 10 years. It lasted for 10 years, people. 10 years. It was not a oops because somebody got elected president. That sucker lasted 10 years because there was so much damage done. It took all those years to recover from that. So I'm telling you, we are way down the tracks as far as damage goes, way down the tracks. All those cows that were lost, it takes a long time to get a calf to the age where it can go to the slaughterhouse, right? Unless you want veal or whatever. But to get a whole cow, it you, we're a whole year behind. It takes time. It takes time. And then all of the food distribution places that were mysteriously catching fire. Now that happens sometimes. You can have granaries and stuff that'll flash because they get too hot or whatever. That'll catch fire and burn down. There's a certain percentage of that that happens every year, right? This year, it was an extraordinary amount of distribution centers that burned to the ground that were full of food. Okay. Then you had the issue of the whole baby formula thing. Turns out it wasn't really a shortage so much as it was a diversion. The baby formula was being sent to the border and sent out of the country and not put onto the shelves for the American people. Okay. So I told you before, if you don't think they hate you, you're wrong. They're willing to starve your child. That's what they want you to know how they feel about you. And then they'll get on national television and tell you this is the best thing that has ever happened. If you want to destroy a country, yes, it's working really great. Yes, it is. So you're going to have to think differently. You're going to have to think that there is nobody in this except me, God, and whoever else has like mind. And that's who I'm going to have to work with. That's who I'm going to have to get along with. That's who's going to have to get along with me. And if they want to come into my space, right, and dip into my supplies, they number one need to bring something with them. Number two, they need to understand I have expectations. Number three, if they can't live up to my expectations, don't come. Number four, God bless you, have a nice life because it's going to be hard enough without you bringing deadbeats into your space that are sucking off of you like a vampire and not contributing to what's going on, it's going to be hard enough. So I'm just saying. Anyhow, y'all got any questions? Let me read the thing. Okay. Good sharp knives. Yeah, for more reason than one. Good sharp knives. Yes. Let's see. If you rub the can good on the sidewalk really hard, it will somewhat come open, plus the metal shavings. Yeah. Yep, there's that. So be careful with that. With the metal shavings, you can have a magnet and just, wave it over and it'll. Okay. So I wanted to run those things past you. So just a quick recap. Rethink your utilities, alternate ways to cook, alternate ways to stay warm. You can use a tent, you can use clay pots that are not glazed, long burning candles, um, um, different methods to cook, sanitation. It could be composting toilet. You have to have somewhere and some way to dispose of your waste, right? What are you going to do with your trash? What are you going to do with your garbage? And again, if you're in an apartment, it's different than if you're in a home. We have a compost bin in our backyard. I have chickens, right? So depending on what it is I'm eating, I can give some scraps to my chickens, and that'll take care of some of that. And then the rest of it can go in my compost bin, or I can burn it, right? But it has to be a controlled burn. Now, when I'm out on our land, and we were getting ready to burn a whole lot of trash when we were taking down a house about, gosh, 3 years ago, I guess now. Um, we called the fire department to let them know we have a lot of debris here from this derelict house, and we're going to be burning some of this stuff. So they want to know, what's the address? What time are you starting? We let them know. So they told us what we needed to have nearby in the way of water, whatever, whatever. And they made a record of it, right? So that if we got into trouble, they'd know where to come and put that fire out. But anyway, extra clothes, try to get wool. Now, I know, you're going to say wool is itchy. Put a t shirt under it. Okay. You won't feel it and it'll keep you warm. What will not keep you warm in the winter is cotton. Cotton will not keep you warm. It'll keep you cool, help keep you cool in the summer. It will not keep you warm in the winter. Okay. You need wool, or at least a wool blend with something else to help keep you warm. So this is a good time to visit the thrift store so that you're not spending an exorbitant amount of money unless you have the money to do so. Get yourself some gloves or mittens, get extra socks, get some good walking shoes or boots if you need to, right? Um, don't forget your water, extra water. Don't forget home security, whatever that means to you. Whatever that means to you, have extra have extra security, okay? If you need to shore up your doors, if you need to put crash bars on your doors. Now, I'm not trying to get you to be paranoid. What I'm trying to tell you is when people are desperate, they do some amazingly crazy things like kick in people's doors and stuff like that. So, um, keep your ear open. Don't listen to the mainstream media. They lie about everything because they think you're just so stupid. You'll believe anything they say, any excuse they come up with, any blame they lay. It'll never be their mistake. It'll never be something that they have to correct. It'll always be your fault or somebody else's that things are so bad. Okay? So, funny how things weren't this bad just 2 years ago. I'm just saying. So, let me see. What else did I want to talk to you guys about? I think that's about it for now. I do thank you for your time and for coming on this evening. Let's see. Happy Camper says another YouTuber says she got a text from the store where she buys animal feed and supplies to buy her. Yes, yes. That's the other thing. If you have pets, make sure that you have stocked up for them. And I'm talking about you have to get, now listen, forget all these people who say, oh, you're a hoarder. You're a hoarder. Listen, hoarders don't use what they get. They just keep getting stuff. They don't use it. They don't share it. They don't give it away. They don't throw it away. They just gather like a squirrel that gone nuts. Okay. They just gather. That's a hoarder. A prepper is not a hoarder. A prepper uses what they have. They rotate their stock. They barter. They trade. That stuff is moving. Okay. So don't let nobody tell you that, because if they're telling you that, that means they ain't doing nothing. All right. They're not doing nothing. And their attitude is probably, well, if stuff goes crazy, I'll just come to your house. You better have some boundaries set as to who can come and who can't. Because I already know who ain't coming to my house. I already know. Here's the deal. If I've been talking to you for the last God knows how long, and all you're concerned about is getting your hair done or getting your nails done or living high off the hog and running all over the place and doing all this stuff and sitting in the lap of luxury, God bless you. Do all that, but prepare for hard times, because we are in hard times right now. There are people that are killing themselves because they can't make it. This father of 3 killed himself because he could not take care of his children. This is real life stuff going on. So I don't have time for the ignorant folk that want to act like nothing's going on just because it hasn't hit them at their doorstep yet. When the prices get so high that it outstrips their paycheck, then it's going to become real to them. When they can't pay their first bill, then it's going to become real to them. The rest of us would have already been in the mix. The rest of us would have already cushioned the blow because we see it coming. We know where we are. We've lived long enough to know what's happening. And so I would suggest that the younger people that watch this channel, you need to get some wisdom from the older people that have seen this stuff before, or their grandparents told them about this, or whatever. During the Great Depression, absolutely nothing went to waste. They couldn't afford to waste anything. They bartered, they traded. I had a lady older than me last month. She says, I have lots of tomatoes. I'll give you a dozen tomatoes if you give me a dozen eggs. That's what we did. We just switched. That's what we did. I didn't have any tomatoes. My tomatoes weren't doing that good. So her tomatoes were thriving. Mine weren't. She gave me 12 tomatoes. I gave her 12 eggs. There you go. Right? The other thing, last thing I want to tell you, get your money out of the bank. Get your money. I'm telling you. I did a video a couple of years ago about a run on the banks. It is terrible what is happening with these banks. There is a country in the East who has armed military outside of the banks because the people said, we want our money. And the government of the communist type has said, that's our money. And they will not let the people get their money out. You put your money into the bank, consider it an investment. You can't have it back. That's what they're doing over there. Okay? They have stolen the people's money. Now, there's a bank called Volt. I had never heard of it before. I don't even know where the bank is. You may have to look it up. But they got a hold of their clients and told them, you need to get your money. You need to get your money out. God bless them for doing that, because some of these other banks, these big name banks have been around for a while that we had to bail out in 2008. Remember that? And all that tax fell on the taxpayer because Obama did the big old bailout. Obama and Bush decided they wanted to pay off all their friends and give them all this money. Yeah, that fell on the taxpayer, right? Bailouts. Here they come up to the Capitol in Washington, or with their hat in their hand, begging for money when they flew in on their Lear jet. If you could, the nerve. Anyhow, so here we are again. And the banks are just as crooked as they have ever been. And I'm telling you, find something else to put your money in that is a tangible asset. I don't care if it's gold, if it's silver, if it's food, if it's clothing, something that has value that you can use or you can trade with someone else, because the dollar, with the prices going up the way they are, the dollar is quickly losing its value. And someone asked Mr. Biden, when is there going to be a break in this? When is this thing going to turn around? He said, when we hit zero. What does that mean? When the dollar's not worth anything? Then you're going to do your big reset? I mean, what the heck? What is supposed to happen to the citizens? What happens to all that money that's in the bank? Oh, I know. All of a sudden, your money isn't worth anything. I had just left Germany when they changed from the Dutch mark to the euro, and those people lost over 50% of the value of their money that they had in the bank at the time. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen. It can happen here. Don't think that it can't. Anyway, don't keep a lot of cash on you, and don't keep a lot of cash in the bank. Now, why do I say don't keep a lot of cash on you? Keep some. It ain't dead yet. Keep some, because guess what? Let's just say something happens to our power grid, our infrastructure, right? That the last administration was trying to strengthen our infrastructure because it was kind of wide open to whoever, whatever enemy wanted to hit our infrastructure, they could. That's why all those hacks were going on with the banks and all this kind of stuff. See, to me, those were dry runs of the enemy just trying to see just how far they could get with our country. Well, now they know. Okay, so let's just say they decide they want to hit the electrical grid and take down the banking system, right? The good thing that could happen is that all your debt goes to zero. The bad thing that can happen is all your accounts go to zero. You have no money. You ain't got no debt, but you still have utilities and you have no money. Okay, people? So I'm telling you, they don't like you. Take your money out of the bank, try a credit union, which is built differently. They're not hooked up to the FDIC, they're with somebody else. Right. Happy Camper says, after raiding Trump's house, I don't think we can imagine what Joe is capable of doing. You do understand that he's a puppet. It's the people behind him, his handlers. Uh, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to call names, but might get flagged. But anyhow, um, watch your finances. Seriously, watch your finances. You do not want to wake up and have absolutely nothing because they decided to take it. We saw this happen up north when those truckers were doing what they were doing and they were saying, we want our kids back in school. We want to go back to work. We want a normal life. You know, we're 2 years into this. You have not slowed the spread. We need to just learn to live with this thing and get back to life. They not only did they destroy their equipment and their trucks and use the national police to do it, to commit a crime against their own citizens because they wanted to work. They seized all of their bank accounts, all of them, and took their money. Now, if a government can do that, and that's just north of us, do you think they can't do it here? You're wrong. They use geo tracking. How do you think they knew they end up at these people's doorsteps from January the 6th that didn't even go inside the building, but they knew that they were there? Huh? Because of that location thing on your phone. That's how they know. That's how they knew where those people were. That's how they can harass them now, because people just tell the government everything. Just tell them everything. It's crazy. Anyhow, did you hear how many more IRS agents they put to work to look into everyone's account? Yeah, not everyone's account. Everyone that makes under $200,000 a year. Now, see, think about what they were saying before. It was all when they were campaigning, all this big old foo-for-ah was going on about we need to tax the rich. They need to pay their fair share. But right, right. And so what do they get? They get the little guy saying, that's right. The rich people need to pay more money. They need to do this. And so they call their congressmen or their senators or whatever, vote yes on this bill to tax the rich. What you did not know was they consider you to be rich, not themselves. They're beyond rich, okay? They are way beyond rich. Anybody making $200,000 or less, yeah, you're the one that's rich, and you're the one that they have just hired all these IRS agents to scan their bank accounts because they want to tax you some more. This is the government that some idiot said, we did it too, wanted to vote this fool into office. Not that he got there legitimately, but there he is, occupying the Oval. So here we are, folks. You are on your own. Okay, I'm going to let you go, but you are on your own. And I really hope that you take what I said to heart about trying to do these things because you have got to look out for you. Get some like minded people, discuss security, discuss, okay, if stuff goes crazy, if people decide they want to start burning down buildings again, right, and have a winter of love in our area, how many people do we have around here that are expert in, let's just say, protecting people, right? Do you have veterans around that are still physically fit? Do you have, I'm telling you, you just have to start thinking this way. It's a shame, it's a disgrace. But it's a shame that we have to do this on our own homeland because our own government has become an enemy of the people. But this is what we have to do. So I wish all of you Godspeed. I will be back on here again, hopefully in the next week or two. And if I find out anything else, if I come up with any more ideas, I will I will let you know, and I'll put out a notice that I'm going to be on. Write me at this address. I'm putting it in the chat box. If you want to get in touch with me, I answer all of my emails because my channel is not that big. I only have 7,000 people. So my channel is not that big. So I can answer emails when I get them. Now, if I get up to 100,000, which I doubt, because a lot of people ain't trying to listen to what I got to say, um, I probably won't be able to answer your email. So you better take advantage of it while I can. And I will write you back. Or, if you leave me a phone number and you're in the United States, I will call you. Okay. So thank you everyone for coming on this evening. I'm 12 minutes past what I said I was going to do. I don't like to keep you guys past an hour, but I do thank you for hanging out with me. Hi, Shirley. I do thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope that you will pass this information and these ideas on. These are just some ideas. Just make sure you have a backup for your backup, okay? If you say, "Well, I got canned goods. I've got about 30 days worth of food." Okay, do more. If at all possible, do more. This ain't going to be over in 30 days. And the food pantries, the food banks are running low. Why? Because people are not bringing food to them because the cost of stuff is so high. When they do get stuff, they're keeping it at home for their families and for themselves. So there ain't a whole lot going on at the food banks, okay? And I just want to tell you that now. So let me know if you have any questions. I will help you as best I can. Have a very blessed rest of your week. Take care, and I will see you the next time I come on.